Hi, Tammy. How are you? Happy Friday.
Good. Oh, I'm enjoying my Friday. Thanks for asking. How are you?
Yes.
Is
Yeah.
Mihai?
Mihae.
Mihai. I get it
Yes.
wrong every time. Thank you for
No
correcting me
worries.
and
And
for
thank you
your
for checking.
patience.
Yeah, it means a lot because names can be tricky to pronounce. I totally understand. Tammy, you're based in Vancouver. If I... Mm.
No, I wish. No, I'm in the United States.
Oh, right.
Yep, I'm in Minnesota.
Yes.
Yes, I live in the fine city of St. Paul, Minnesota, which is our capital city. Been here for about 2 decades. So,
Wow, 2 decades. So you're liking it, hence you are still there. I
yes,
assume.
it's funny. I even left for 2 years and I went to Southern California, which, by the way, was fabulous. Loved the
Yeah.
weather. Still ended up coming back to Minnesota. I just couldn't stay away.
Yes, yeah. And if I remember correctly, your company is also based in Minnesota, headquartered in
Yes,
Minnesota.
yes. I work for a company called Purpose Brands.
Mm-hmm.
And we actually recently, or last year, merged. Our original company I worked for was Self Esteem Brands. We own Anytime Fitness, Base Camp Fitness, The Bar Method, Waxing the City, and Stronger You Nutrition, among some other businesses. And we merged with Orange Theory Fitness.
Mm-hmm.
So we're now called Purpose Brands. So technically, we have 3 campuses. I'm at our North Campus, which is in Woodbury, Minnesota.
Right.
We have a campus in Boca Raton, Florida, which is the original Orange Theory campus.
Mm-hmm.
And then we have a tech campus in Seattle. Yeah.
Do you go to office often these days?
We go to the office 3 days a week. It's a
Mm-hmm.
kind of a Monday, Tuesday, Thursday. So as you can see today, I'm work from home on Wednesday, Friday, which is great 'cause we still have those couple of days where you're able to really power in and get a lot done without as many distractions. So,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. Love the name, by the way, Purpose Brands.
Yes, yeah.
Yes.
It's one of the things, and we really do have a really strong purpose, which is to help improve the lives of people around the world through our fitness and wellness brands.
Mm-hmm.
So it does feel really good to be able to work for a company that purpose is literally in its name. So
Yes, yeah. People want purpose, right? Not just paycheck
that's
from their
right.
job these
Yeah.
days. Yeah, they want more than that. So speaking of company and purpose, little bit of yourself, please. Intro what you
Yeah.
do at Purpose Brands and how you got there, and what about your job that you are enjoying the most?
Yeah. So, a strategic communicator by trade. I've been doing this for a number of years. My gray hair probably gives away that it's more than a few. I had an undergraduate in mass communications and PR specifically, but then I got a master's in business management, which I think gave me a really nice visibility and deeper business acumen in terms of understanding all the functions within the business, which as an internal communicator is especially important because they're really our business partners who we
Mm-hmm.
work with on a regular basis and have to help them help our audiences understand the work they're doing and how it fits into the organization. So,
Yes, love how
um,
you phrased it. Internal partner, did you say?
yeah,
Yeah.
I really do think we work daily, like multiple times a day. This morning, I was on calls with somebody from our international team. We have calls with finance, the
Mm-hmm.
tech team. We support a lot of operational communication within the
Mm-hmm.
business. So we work with the marketing on the daily. But yeah, understanding every function in the business and really being a partner to help them understand how to move change forward within the organization and how to communicate with our stakeholders. So that's
Mm-hmm.
really what my team and I do. So as for kind of what my background is or how I got here, I came to to Self-Esteem Brands as the director of communication for the Anytime Fitness franchise originally. That was 5 years ago. Then COVID hit, and we realized there was a lot of information across all the franchise brands that it didn't really matter which brand it was. We still had to figure out how to open and close locations, how to navigate local regulations. And so we did a lot more enterprise-wide communication support out to our franchise owners. So my team was briefly a shared service model. And then, as most people who have been in the communication field know, they spun us back into the business because it's kind of a pendulum that swings back and forth. Are you going to be a centralized focus, or are you going to have a function as a communications team? So right now we're centralized, and my team supports Anytime Fitness Global Communications.
Right. And the other brands, they have their own communications team then.
Yep. Each of the brands, some of the smaller brands are kind of communication light, if you will. They have somebody who's more like, even our corporate team has somebody who's kind of like HR operations / communications.
Right.
And then some of our smaller brands do communication, and they do all the technical writing and documentation around operations. So,
Right. Right.
Yeah.
How many employees within your team working together?
there are 3 of us. So it's me, and I have 2 global communication managers. We operate kind of around projects. So I assign them to projects. Oftentimes they'll work more frequently with the same internal business partners. Like one of my people is primarily marketing focused because that's so much of what we communicate around our campaigns and other marketing related topics. But we're split by projects, and then we also kind of lean into what we call run the business work, which is more audience focused. So one of the people on my team focuses on our international leaders, and then the other one focuses on domestic.
Small and mighty team.
Yes. Yeah. We do a lot. We also collaborate across the other brands. So right before I got on our call today, we had a little thing going in a Zoom chat that we have with our communication community of practice, just aligning around how we use the tools, because we all use the same tool set across the organization. So we do a lot of best practice sharing and troubleshooting together. But for the most part, unless a message is a top line, like purpose brand executive message that's going to all brands, we each kind of work in our brand groups.
Right. Understood. You mentioned hybrid work model. It seems like now a 3 days, 2 days type thing. How the whole COVID, you briefly mentioned COVID as well, the COVID era and now hybrid in terms of the internal communications amongst the internal stakeholders, how that have shaped and reshaped and again reshaped so far.
Yeah. I do think COVID was actually a really great opportunity for digital transformation. A lot of businesses were already down that path or on that path before COVID. So it was kind of obviously, it's like sometimes those external forces push companies to move maybe faster than they would otherwise. So we've really adopted a digital first mindset in terms of communication. We have dashboards where all of our communications live. We use targeted and mass emails, of course. We currently are using Workplace by Meta as a 2-way communication channel built into our dashboard. And that's with our franchise stakeholder group and our clubs. We work from an internal standpoint. We use Zoom. We have a lot of Zoom channels where a lot of conversations happen. It's been an interesting thing with the merger because we're trying to streamline our tool sets. So we're currently in the midst of moving everybody over to new email domains, which you wouldn't think, like, it doesn't sound like a big deal, but there's a lot of work that goes on behind the scenes. And our HR team and tech partners are doing a really great job of helping the organization kind of move through that change in terms of switching email addresses and what that in between kind of muddy gray phase looks like as different cohorts get moved over. Also, we just yesterday were talking about, do we do X in Smartsheet, or do we use Asana, or do we use Jira? Because we've got all these different tools in our toolbox. And you take everything we already had at Self-Esteem Brands plus what Orange Theory brought to the table and bring them all together. So that's a really big focus for us right now, is streamlining the digital experience.
Yes, technologies are great as long as they can be utilized the way that we envision being utilized.
Yeah. Yeah.
Definitely. It sounds like a lot of changes have happened. Any learned lessons around change management, how you went
Yeah.
through?
Yeah, well, change, as we all have heard, change is hard.
It is.
I'm experiencing that on the daily as an employee, but also trying to keep that in mind as I'm working on projects and initiatives. So in our particular business, we're in the franchising business, which not everybody. Maybe I'll give just a really brief on what franchising is, because not everybody understands it. I didn't know what it was 20 years ago when I made the switch from corporate communications. I worked at the Best Buy headquarters doing store level employee communications, and I switched into a company that was doing franchising. 100% franchise model, which means that their brand, every location that you interact with is actually owned by independent local business people who bought into that franchise. They buy in to use the name and the system, the tools and the processes to run their small business, but technically it's like the franchisor owns the brand. So in my case, right now I work for Anytime Fitness. I've worked for Great Clips, hair salons, which I don't know if everybody knows that, US and Canada, probably by now 5,000 plus locations. But I've done consulting in the franchise space as well. Those were my 2 years in Southern California. So I really love challenges, I would say. It's like opportunities that come in the communication space and franchising, because what you're really doing is kind of like internal PR to some extent. You have to be able to engage your stakeholders, these independent franchise owners and their teams, to be able to adapt programs, to use the tools you provide, to follow the brand processes and standards. And so it's really interesting to be able to work on those changes at an enterprise and corporate level, and then try and roll them out and engage people to adopt those practices.
Right, right. Culture. When it comes to franchise business, I'm sure how corporate culture is shaped and celebrated and managed a little bit different from different types of business.
Yeah. I think yes and no, because you've got multiple cultures to consider. So we have an enterprise culture, and then we have brand specific corporate culture.
Right.
A lot of that, in our case with Anytime Fitness, comes from our co-founders originally. We just recently did a communication just reinforcing our 4 values and enterprise level, and reinforcing that those still apply at the Anytime Fitness level as well. But then ultimately, once you get down to like a franchise owner, they have their own culture too within their organization as well. So the hope would be that the essence of the overall culture that's intended is felt and delivered through that in-club experience down to the consumer as well as the staff members. But ultimately, I mean, culture is different depending on, we're global. It depends on the area of the country. It depends on which country. It depends on what the owners like. Some of our owners have, a couple hundred staff people on their team, so they're almost as big as the corporate team at headquarters.
Right.
So, yeah, there's just a lot of nuances to how cultures define, but we do try and provide clarity around that and make sure that the way we deliver messaging and information, the way we roll stuff out aligns with the desired culture as well.
Yes. Given that and also location of everyone, tool like you mentioned workplace from Meta that you've used before, and currently you're still using that tool at the moment.
Yeah. Meta is sunsetting the workplace platform at the end of August this year. So we're working on finding a solution that we'll implement before that happens. We're getting really close to selecting a solution.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, that tool currently is used with, we have 5 instances where we're using it within the business. It's our Canada Anytime Fitness, our US Anytime Fitness, as well as our Stronger You Nutrition, which is registered dietitian coaches who do that like through an app called Stronger You. They provide nutrition services to people. And so the coaches who are all independent connect through a workplace solution to stay aligned with the business and each other and share best practices. And then we use it for Waxing the City franchise, Basecamp franchise, and the Bar Method franchise right now. So that's the plan, is to replace it for that group. But we're looking for a solution that then can scale to be used regardless of which brand it is at some point in time.
Yes. We briefly touched upon technologies earlier in our conversation. So when we have these very diverse groups of people working together, a tool like that definitely helps to share knowledge, information, and also just gather together virtually when physically gathering together is not really possible and or ideal.
Yeah, and I think in particular in a franchise model, it's especially important to have two-way communication so you can hear from, yeah, we have 2 consumers, really. We've got the end consumer of our brand, like the person that walks into a club or a studio and experiences that, or engages with us online with the brand at a system level. And then we've got our consumer who is our franchise owner. They are obviously like, they're our customer just as much as a brand has a customer. We have franchisees as customer. So we have to try and balance the two. What are the needs of the end consumer and our customers in those locations? So we set the right processes and tools and systems and programs. And then what is it like for those franchise owners to operate that business and try and implement the things that we're creating and delivering? And to be able to do that effectively, we need to be able to understand their experience. So workplace has been a two-way channel for us to hear immediate feedback when something isn't working well for franchise owners or their clubs or their team members. And so then we can use that feedback for continuous improvement and to look for gaps and opportunities for future projects that we might want to implement.
Totally.
Yeah.
Totally. I'm gonna do a hard turn here.
Okay.
And ask you about, as a woman, professional business woman, we all juggle many different things that life has for us. So far, your journey.
Yeah. I don't know, my journey. Let's see. I actually grew up in, not to go back to like childhood, but I'm going to briefly.
Yes.
I grew up in a family where women getting education and having a career wasn't necessarily a thing. I mean, I'm still from that generation when it was less common for women to be in the workforce, particularly in leadership positions, but also like just, I didn't even know I could go to college. Like I didn't know that was a thing. So I'd been working since the age of 11, like babysitting for neighbors or doing random stuff around the neighborhood for people. And I started working at a hospital in my hometown at the age of 16 while I was in high school. And I worked there for 9 years before I actually said, hey, wait, I could go to college and get a degree and do something different with my life. And it was really an interesting time for me. It was kind of a light bulb moment. They were offering tuition reimbursements. So at the time, the financials around it weren't a barrier. So I just went and signed up for school. And how old was I? I was probably 22. And then I just took a few classes here and there. And then I went all in when I was just around my 25th birthday. And I moved away from my hometown. I went to college. I got my degree in mass communications and PR. And then I started working for the Moorhead Chamber of Commerce. I went to school at Minnesota State University, Moorhead in Moorhead, Minnesota. And the dean, one of our deans knew somebody on the board of directors at the Moorhead Chamber of Commerce. They knew me from a work study program. And they're like, you should apply for this. And so I guess I never would have for just having graduated. It was a program manager role. I had no idea what that meant. And it did really go back to having good mentors in a network and relationships.
Certainly.
Right. If the dean who I had worked with on an alumni event that I did some planning for them hadn't said to the leader of the Moorhead Chamber, hey, I know somebody who I think could be really good for this role, I don't know that I would have ended up where I am today. I mean, those are pivotal moments. But I walked in on my first day of work at that Chamber of Commerce. It was a super small nonprofit, as most are. And the president of the chamber was like, hey, I got to leave. I'm going out of state for a meeting. Good luck. And she's like, you got this. And so I was like, thank you for your trust in me. I had no idea what I was doing. But she was also a fabulous mentor to me because she really just trusted me to use my brain, use the skills and knowledge I had to just figure stuff out on the ground. And she gave me a ton of responsibility and recognition for the work that I did, which was great. And from there, I was able to move up when we merged. We merged with the Fargo Chamber of Commerce, and I got a role over there. And then through my network and her, I met somebody in Minnesota at the Bloomington Chamber of Commerce, and he recruited me over to the Bloomington organization. So that's how I ended up in Minneapolis, St. Paul area. But I guess long story short, it's all about the relationships you build. The coming into things with confidence is very important. Just I don't necessarily believe in the fake it till you make it, because I am never afraid to ask questions and look, I don't care if it looks dumb. I want to know the answer. So I think as a female leader, that's been probably one of my greater strengths, is leveraging those networks and building those relationships, but also approaching things with confidence, yet being curious, very curious, asking lots of questions to learn as much as I can, as quickly as I can. And I think that's played out in all the roles I've taken since then over the years.
Amazing story. And it sounds like it wasn't linear journey.
Oh, no. Yeah.
Yeah, one thing led to another, and that led to another.
Yep, for sure. I think it's good to have a path. It's good to have goals, but it's also really important to be flexible in how you approach them and to be willing to pivot when opportunities present themselves.
Yes, yeah. And when I reflect my journey so far, I still am impatient, very impatient. When I was younger and thought that why can't I just expedite my journey. Why is my journey so windy? Is that the word?
Yeah,
It's
that's a
not
great word,
straightforward.
windy.
Yeah,
Yeah,
why so windy? Like, why am I getting lost so
yeah.
often?
But I think reframing that, it's not getting lost. Think about all the things and experiences that contributed along the way from that windy journey to
Right?
where you are now and
Yeah.
how you present yourself, right?
Yes, yes, totally. Any challenges that you faced so far in your professional journey?
Well, as we all do, right, there have been times along the way where there have been kind of milestone key moments. I think some like just personal challenges along the way sometimes kind of get in the way of movement and progress because every once in a while in life there are things that happen that you need to step back and kind of focus on personal over work. That balance has been just an ongoing struggle for me since the beginning of time. I mean, I notoriously, even as a teenager and young person, I would do 2, 3 jobs at the same time. I'm not very good at focusing on kind of that balance. I get very all in on whatever work I'm doing. So that's definitely been a challenge on and off over the years. Had a few, as most people do, once you get into a 20, 30-year career. I've been laid off in roles previously, left roles that didn't feel like a good fit. I've been moved from roles that didn't feel like a good fit, right?
Yes,
So, like, different things happen in your career. And I think being resilient and understanding
yes,
the windy path that it is, that's okay because each of those moments in your career give you a new perspective and experiences and a new opportunity to kind of take a different fork in the road, if you will.
yes, yeah.
Yeah.
Any one tip that you'd share with folks around building resilience? I love that word, resilience. Without it, how can we navigate through life?
Yeah.
No matter who
Yeah.
you are, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I would say honestly, I would have never said this maybe even 5 or 10 years ago, but don't devalue the benefits of therapy. Honestly, when you're working through tough things in life, it's like you may have really good friends, you might have a sister, you might have a mom, like whoever it might be that you kind of connect with and commiserate. But there's just something about therapy that allows you to step back and really look at things from a different lens, maybe a little more neutrality to
Mhm.
consider what role did you play in that happening and how might you want to adjust? Or what are the drivers behind like your emotional
Yes.
state and reactions to things so that you can really get at maybe what might help you move forward in a more positive way. So I think not to say you can't be resilient without therapy because I did it for many, many years, but I also will say I think it's really a valuable tool to have in the toolbox and as you go through life and you need to practice resilience at various points.
Yes. You know what? What I'm gonna do right after our chat is to book a session. Because so far, I've met a few different therapists, didn't have the type of connection that I wanted and I believe needed to continue.
Yeah.
But
Yep.
there's new contact that I got from really good friend of mine, but I have been putting it off because past experiences were not as ideal as I was hoping for. And
Yeah, that there's a lot to be said for that because I've tried it on and off at different points in my journey and not felt value in it or just not felt connected to it or the person I was
right.
working with. So We have a program through work at Purpose Brands called Modern Health, and it's one of our benefits. We receive, I believe it's 8 therapy sessions and
Oh,
8
nice.
professional coaching sessions. So, like, I'm really taking advantage of those benefits the last few years. We established that relationship, I believe, during COVID, and it's been a highly rated benefit by all employees.
No doubt.
Just because it offers like simple, easy access to therapy. I have a financial coach through the program who's helping me like be more disciplined about my budgeting and my savings. Yeah. So I think if people have those access to those things through their jobs, they should definitely take advantage of that. But I don't know if you can just sign up with them as an individual either. Virtual, it's called Modern Health. Not to do an ad for somebody right now and here now, but they are a really great service. They also offer like circles and focus groups on specific topics that might be of interest to people. So anyway, that's kind of my thoughts on resilience, if you will.
Yes, thank you. Thank you. I will keep you posted. We'll
Okay.
reach out to few that I got introductions, and I will keep you posted.
That would be
This
great.
is
I'd
my
love
commitment. Thanks
I'd
to
love
our
to hear how that
conversation.
goes for you. Yeah, absolutely.
Yes. Last time we chatted, we talked about, I'm going to do another hard turn. Speaking of change, we talked about briefly earlier in the conversation. Change is difficult for how humans are structured. Change is difficult, and capacity for change, I believe, differs person to person and depending on the situations and environments and culture and so on. Can you speak to that a bit?
Yeah, yes, I can. I wouldn't call myself a full change expert. I've done some ProSci change management sessions, workshops. We tend to follow the ProSci model when we're developing communication plans that involve in which success really is dependent on key stakeholders changing what they do or how they think or operate on a daily basis. So the way we just had a conversation about this yesterday, too, we're trying to figure out like what a good way is to level projects as we think about them, to think like how big of a change is this for key stakeholders? How important is them changing their daily behavior to the success of that particular initiative so that we can kind of figure out where do we lean in more to the two-way communication channels and feedback and reinforcement. As we do the ProSci model, it uses what's called ADKAR, where you focus on like building awareness, creating desire for the change, providing the knowledge they need to be able to make the change, and then kind of checking the ability. Now they've got the knowledge, kind of testing the ability. Can they actually work differently? And then how is that reinforced either through like recognition or rewards or just like as part of daily operations till it truly becomes part of how people just work. So we use that ADKAR model but you can't approach every single, there's no one size fits all because we have to kind of make some assumptions and create personas, if you will, for like for a franchisee, for a club owner. How might they perceive this change? What might the barriers be to this change? How much time might we need to give them to really like soak it in as we're building awareness before they act? And what kind of information or data or proof points do they need to actually desire to make the change? Because they can see, hey, that other franchisee that was part of the pilot did it and it had a positive impact on their bottom line, right? So you have to think about all those things. So it's challenging because there is no one size fits all. Like some people need a long time to engage and make the change. Some people never will. And in a franchise model, that's particularly challenging. In a corporate model, you might get to a point where, okay, we rolled out this new system or process, we communicated it, we trained people on it, we took away the old system, whatever it might be, and it just becomes the way people work. But that's assuming you might have some laggards who refuse to do it. And at some point, that's like a culture problem too, to have people like digging in and fighting the change. And you're more likely to see those people perhaps like leave the system or be help to leave the system, right? Because change is hard, but at some point when you're a corporate employee, you don't really get an option. Yeah. So in a franchise model, change is different because they buy into the system. We do have compliance. We do have things built into the franchise agreement that state what they can and can't do or have to do. But it's like a lot more long timeline kind of plotting change. So we often approach it that, you know, our end goal might be to get 80% of people on board because like we need to get to a tipping point where it becomes part of the brand. Like when we rolled out the new app or when we rolled out what we call our access pass, which is a digital key that people can use to get into the club through the app. Those changes are challenging because it changes how clubs and interact with members. And then there's technical components to it, which people don't always understand, or we run into technical issues along the way and it doesn't work perfect 100% of the time. But at some point we have to kind of be like, okay, this is now implemented and part of the brand. Even knowing that there might be, 10, 20% of people who are just disregarding it. So then from back to your original question, I would say, again, no one size fits all. Everybody's capacity for change varies. We probably in the franchise communication space have less control over driving that change. So it's more about influencing people and persuading people of the value of doing change, which is hard. Yeah.
Yes, I love those words, influence.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. Humans cannot really be forced, right?
Right.
They can be influenced. But
That's
yeah.
right.
Great.
But even people recognize that someone's trying to influence them.
True.
That all creates resistance. So
Very true.
yeah.
When conversations fun, time flies. It's been already,
Oh
more than
my.
the time
Yes.
that we carved out originally. So thank you so much
Yeah, for
for
sure.
the time and the conversations. I enjoyed it very much so, and a lot of nuggets in our conversations that I'm sure our audience will find relevant, helpful, valuable. So really appreciate you and your time, Tammy.
Yeah, you too, Mihae. And honestly, that was super fun. I would do this any Friday.
Oh, right? Yeah, it is a
Yeah.
good Friday.
Yeah, absolutely. It feels good to go into the weekend kind of connecting, using the brain in a little different way than the rush and the push of the day-to-day.
Yes, certainly.
Yep.
Thank you, Tammy. Have a great weekend and really looking forward to staying connected.
Yeah, absolutely. And you did make a commitment, so I'm looking
Yes,
forward to
I did.
hearing how the therapy goes.
Yes, yeah, I'll
All right.
definitely keep you posted.
Okay, thank you, Mihae.
Thank you. Have
Bye.
a good weekend. Bye.
You too.